I will never cold call. I'll never door knock. It's honing in on being who you are authentically. No, so I own three houses. I own an Airbnb and a second home. Yeah, so over 50% of my business comes from social media.
There were a lot of sources that said you were a creative marketer, very dynamic, very creative marketer. So I
Yeah.
guess we can start there. Like, how did you get your start in real estate, and what kind of avenues have you used to get in front of people, I guess?
Well, hi, I'm Bree White. Just in case you didn't know how to pronounce my name. Yeah, I got into real estate because my then boyfriend, now husband, was like, all right, it's time for a real job. And I was like, I worked retail. So
Mhm.
by the time I was like 19, I was making like 50K running stores, was in college, had a child, um, moved to be with a boy. And it was just kind of like, all right, sure, but I'm gonna make so much less money. And I did.
Yeah.
I started off as a receptionist. I've worked every position within a brokerage other than broker owner.
Mhm.
But I was a partner of a brokerage for a short period. Was not for me, which is totally okay.
Okay.
So then I just decided I wasn't gonna make anyone else money again. So ta-da, I got licensed.
Okay. And how was that transition from your last job retail into getting your license? Like, was there a ramp up period? Because I see a lot of times, you know, it'll be either someone will just take like a shift and just switch their path, just like a random switch, or they're like thinking about it for a while. Were you thinking about it, or did you just jump straight into real estate?
No, so I was already in real estate. I was honestly just looking for a Monday through Friday 9 to 5 job. And it just so happened to be a real estate office that hired me. I started in 2008 when everybody was getting out of the business,
Right.
learned a lot, loved what I did, loved the opportunities of like I opened brokerages, I restructured brokerages, you name it, I've done it.
Mhm.
Um, and so when I decided to actually implement and utilize my license, because I had it and sat on it for a few years, it was like, this is great framework. So I am a unique case where I already knew the industry and knew what I was getting into.
Yeah. So you're able to learn the ropes pretty quick.
Yeah.
I got you. So, you mentioned 2008. Our last guest actually also went in during 2008. How have you been able to apply, like, because right now, obviously, we're seeing a lot of things in the market just going weird. How have you been able to apply that, like, back to what's happening right now, in a sense?
So nothing lasts forever, right? It's
Right.
just weathering through the storm. I think the best advice I had before I was actually licensed was there was a husband and wife team, and they said if you can save up to a year of your salary that you need to survive when the hard times come, it won't be a problem. And that just always stuck with me. So when I started and I knew times were going to be great, I just stacked my cash that if like, knock on wood, I don't get anything for the rest of the year, or if I don't get anything until March, I'm okay.
Yeah.
And that was my biggest lesson because like before real estate, as soon as I got a check, I'd be like, nah, I'm gonna spend it. I'm getting another check in 2 weeks anyways. But
Yeah.
now no. I hold my money.
Yeah. Okay. And have you looked into like investment properties and that sort of thing as well, or are you like strictly looking to stick into real estate, like as a realtor, just doing
Yeah.
transactions?
No, so I own three houses. I own an Airbnb and a second home that is actually my childhood home that my disabled brother lives in. So it's been great that this industry gave me the ability and the knowledge to be able to do that. I would say if I hadn't learned and took the time to seek information, because like you can get in the business and not seek information, or you can, I don't think I would have been able to pull it off.
Right. Okay. Why not?
There are so many intricate moving parts and like adult things you don't think
Yeah.
about, right? Like
Right.
it's like so just asking those questions, and I always say CYA because you never know. You want to plan for the best but also prep for the worst, and I think that that really gave me an edge. And honestly, our Airbnb is in a short-term only community, which is really unique for any Airbnb. And we've done really well considering what some of these other owners are going through. And we've only been live like a year and a half.
Okay.
So
Okay. And what would you say advice for either someone who's an agent, or yeah, someone who's an agent who's looking to get, their first either rental property or property in general, just investment property, what would, I guess, anything to look out for? What would you tell them?
So do your homework, do the
Right.
math. If you can't do the math, find someone that you really trust and value that can do the math for you, because ROIs fluctuate, and if you buy high and the market drops, like historically, like what happened in 2010 and 11, and let's say you bought in 2006 back then, it was really hard to cover your mortgage and your expenses. So just do your homework. I live in South Florida, and I did the math and decided this was not the market to buy an Airbnb in. So I went to Kissimmee, where everyone go. I mean, it's Disney, Universal,
Right.
like everyone goes there at some point,
Right.
right? So best decision I made.
Okay. And do you plan on, I'm assuming, getting more of them if hopefully you're getting a
Yeah.
good ROI
Yeah,
now?
getting more of them, and we're building out the option to have us run your
Hmm.
Airbnb, so property management.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
A lot of avenues definitely can go down. As far as I was looking at like your Instagram, saw that you have a link tree there, saw that you have the Airbnbs on there.
Yeah.
As far as that goes, like just like Instagram using social media, other marketing channels, how are you not only marketing your Airbnbs, but how are you marketing, your other ventures that you have going on through the online channels?
Yeah, so over 50% of my business comes from social media, and I've just structured it that way. I have been really blessed and had great opportunities. I've traveled the country. I'm actually going to Georgia to speak at a brokerage next week. I'm doing a 3-hour marketing course for them. And I just ran with it, right? Like when I started, I ran Zillow leads for a little bit. That got super expensive real quick, and that helped my business to kind of take a jump off. And then I was like, oh my gosh, how am I going to stay in front of people that's like more cost effective and actually affordable? So social
Right.
was it.
Okay.
And I just Facebook, I don't care what anyone says, Facebook is still a bread and butter for a lot of individuals, just because if you look at the statistics of social media platforms, it's still the largest one historically as of 2023. It goes Facebook, Facebook, YouTube, WhatsApp, and then Instagram. And then TikTok's a little further down because there's like WeChat and other stuff before it. But that's not to say that it won't rival and eventually make its way up the list. And I think it's important for everyone to just start with a platform that they're comfortable with. I found a lot of success on Facebook groups. Like I have one group that has it's very niche. I have over almost 28,000 global Remax members in the group, and it's just for marketing for Remax agents. And then recently, literally like not even 30 days ago, I have launched Your Creative Hustle, which is like a brand. So like this shirt, other merch that I sell, digital downloads, eventually it'll be coaching, training, stuff like that. And I also have a free Facebook group we're like 3 weeks in and have like almost 300 members. So groups are great. That's another way to really just pivot.
Right. And how long, what you said Facebook, did you mean the groups or were you running like Facebook ads too on there?
Everything I do is organic. I don't
Okay.
run ads. So I learned real quick that everyone says you have to have a business page on Facebook and this and that. And I agree, right? But I look at it as the perspective of your Facebook business page is like your GMB page. So it's really just like for your pretty stuff, but you're never going to get the engagement like you would on your personal page. So I converted my account whenever they offered it to me, and to digital creator. So I make money off my Facebook and Instagram now, and I can track all of my metrics, which is really cool. So I can see which posts perform better. I've learned how to do like micro blogs on Facebook to pull people in with words and not videos. I was so anti-video for the longest, and then I was just finally like, fine, I'll do it. But
Why do you think that is? Because we see a lot of agents as well. They just don't want to jump on the camera for some reason. What do you think it is
I
that
think it's like insecurities, right? Like you're always gonna be like, oh, my face looks funny if I like do this, or that's a bad angle, or I sound like a 5-year-old, like whatever it is, right? So I finally decided, a couple friends of mine do a really great video boot camp, which I think they're starting to rev up again. His name is Jesse Peters and Michael Thorne. If you want to search them, I think it's like Rev Video, so it's like RE Video something boot camp. I went to that finally, and it's funny because I had messaged him, I don't know, a couple of months ago, and I was like, "Yeah, I know it took me 3 years, but I'm finally doing video. Yay me!"
Yeah. Okay.
And it was just that, like, life happened during COVID, and I just wasn't into it. I didn't know what I wanted my voice to be, and I finally figured it out. Like, I like just hilarious things. So all of our videos are antics of silly skits in a listing or something that's like, wait, what? That actually happens in real estate? And you're like, yeah, it does.
Yeah. And I think that's one thing that a lot of people get mistaken. Like we'll see like, here's the like a stock chart with all the recent market updates and like just listed, just sold. Obviously that angle works for you, but what would you say to people that are trying to find like the angle to take and don't want to post just the regular, content that their brokerage gives them, templates, stuff like that? Like, how did you find your angle to it?
So I create everything on my phone for the most part, 100% on my phone. I have learned the best features of every single creative app there is that I could possibly use. And I start to finish will create a graphic in 5 minutes. If it takes me longer than 5 minutes, I'm out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think it's just knowing and utilizing your style. So for me, it took me, I actually hired a real estate coach, and it took me a whole year of realizing I am not a normal realtor at
Mm-hmm.
all. I will never cold call. I'll never door knock. Like, I'm just authentically me. And I think that's the biggest thing I can give to anyone is we are so used in our industry that like this is the cut pattern to success. And I think finally we're starting to see that it's not. We're all just unique and different. So just lean into it and don't be afraid to experiment, because you have to run the insights, right? Like you have to put something out, say, okay, I think that if I put this tone and this topic out, maybe I'll get this reaction. And if it doesn't work, then all right, let me switch it up. But also a problem is like think that, and I don't even want to say problem, like, because I feel like there's no problems, there's only solutions. But I feel like a mindset is we tend to think that, well, if I didn't get like 100 and something likes on it, or if I didn't blow up or go viral, it wasn't successful. And that's not necessarily the case, because a lot of times it's about quantity, not quality. Or sorry, it's about quality, not quantity. Reverse that.
Yeah.
It's quality, not quantity. So I started to look at like my social media wins as like, I call it social farming,
Yeah.
right? So you can farm to a neighborhood, and statistically, they're going to tell you it takes 12 to 24 months, right? Same thing with social media.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to look at the small wins to like not lose my sanity and be like, it's not working. So the first thing was when someone sent me a message about wanting to sell a house. I was like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. Like they thought of me. And then the next one was like when I had an in real life conversation with someone about something I posted on social media. I was like, dude, because like think about it, right? If you post something on social media and then an individual comes to you later on, like a week later, it's like, oh, that post you did was so cool. Like that means it was memorable. It stuck with them. So that's a huge win.
Yeah. And how have you been able to, I guess, like a real tactical, a couple strategies, a couple nuggets you can drop on how have you been able to make like things stick to them? So like they come back to your content and eventually message you or call you and whatever that process looks like.
It's honing in on being who you are authentically. Like, I am just authentically me.
Mm-hmm.
My audience knows exactly what they're going to get from me. It's either going to be a heartfelt story or some crazy, hilarious antic. Um, and I don't want to say I'm consistent, because I'm still working on my groove of what my consistency means. And you're always constantly evolving. But I'd like to say is like, taking the time to really research the creative process of whatever that means to you. If you just want to focus in on reels and be educational or inspiring or whatever it is, right? There is a scientific process to creativity, and that can be applied across the board. There's a lot of neuroscience into it. So if someone's watching this and they're like, I'm not creative, this is ridiculous. No, you are. It's just about opening those neural pathways. And once you find creativity, like you say, like, all right, I'm going to do this podcast, right?
Right.
You'll never run out of creativity. I'm sure you already have like 10 other ideas you want to do for
You know
this.
what? Yeah.
Exactly. So it's just like just getting started. And then you'll find like inspiration in like the weirdest places. It'll be like, oh, that's kind of cool.
And where are some places that you look for inspiration?
For me, I all around me, I'll be having like a conversation with someone that's like totally not even about real estate. And they'll say something and a thought comes in. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can
Yeah.
make like a hilarious video out of that. It's
Yeah. So you
just
just
random stuff.
pull from everything.
I pull from everything. I when it's like a slow period or if I'm stuck in the car or something and I'm not driving, I'll go through and save audios on TikTok. I'll save audios sometimes on Facebook and Instagram. And then I'll circle back to my saved audios and see which ones are trending. Um, or which ones I have a relevant topic to. And I kind of call it emotional posting because it's not something strategically planned. I'm just like, meh, here we go.
Yeah.
And you'd be surprised, like it's really they perform very well. It's all about the hook though. It's all about like what is your question or call to action to make them play it as well.
Mhm.
That helps.
Right. And how long did the whole process take from you said the first time someone reached out to you, you're like, oh, like it's actually working. How long did that take from like the time you started and like decided to use it as an actual prospecting channel versus like to when you actually got someone reaching out and then did your first deal from it?
So I will say my first real memorable conversation was 6 months in.
Okay.
And that was just because we're talking like 6 years ago or something like that,
Mhm.
and it wasn't not everyone had some type of social platform like nowadays. And it was really cool just to have like someone approach me in real life and be like, hey, I want to do X, Y, and Z in real estate. I saw, you're doing it now. Can you help? So that was huge. But I always tell everyone, look at it, take the mindset of like if you're sending out mailers and apply that to your social media. Create 30-day challenge, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year, and go back and look. Even if you didn't hit your markers, just see where you landed and then readjust from there.
Yeah. And what key metrics did you specifically look at when you're making content to be like, hey, things are improving, things are not?
I looked at engagement and I wholeheartedly know who pays attention to me and who doesn't.
Okay.
So, like, what's really interesting is if you'll put, like, I put a post that was posing a question not too long ago in regards to if someone was paying you $1, do you think that that's worth your time or something like that, right? And you'd be surprised when you put questions out like that, the individual who you didn't even know followed you, now all of a sudden are commenting. And you're
Yeah.
like, huh, all right, versus the loyalist. So I like to develop brand loyalists in any way possible. Just someone who's always going to be my biggest supporter and, you know, love everything I do or like it or at least engage. They don't have to
Right.
agree, but at least engage.
Right. Right. And as for like tactically like converting actually people off social media, how do you go about it? Do you just wait for them to DM you? Are you waiting for them for a phone call? Are you putting out like lead magnets, getting them interested, getting their info, and then dripping on them through campaigns? Or how are you pulling people like from social media to the closing table?
Yeah. So I have a few different things I do. I use KB Core, and KB Core has allowed me to have a call to action, and I can pull people in through that way and then set them up on an automatic text and drip. And it's wonderful. It's just automated. I don't have to think twice about it. And then another thing I learned really early on is it takes 10 impressions minimally for someone to think of you. So I had to be consistent and find my balance of like, okay, well, if I post 3 times a day, that's saturation and it's just ruining my algorithm. But if I only post once a week, that hurts my algorithm too. So what's my balance? And I had to find that consistency first. And then from there, I was able to say, all right, well, it takes X amount of posts for an agent to reach out. So I got really great with agent to agent referrals, which is not really typical. So I could say that over 50% of my business came from social media, which once you reach that 50% mark, go to your accountant and ask them about influencer write-offs. It's really cool that you can like incorporate some of that into it. And then from there, from the 50% mark, of that 50%, half of that was agent to agent referrals I was getting, which is like insane. I also live in a vacation market too, so that makes a difference.
Right.
Um, but it was just building those relationships, sending note cards from there to people, to other agents, or sending them a little thank you gift on top of the referral fee. If it's someone that I built like a close relationship with during the process. And then it was talking to people in real life. I really like more of the Buffini method in regards to the relationship base than taking something that's like strictly cold and just like going
Yeah.
ham with it. Yeah, because like I don't want to be sold, right? So
Right.
I'm gonna think that the people
Of
I
course.
associate don't want to be sold either.
Of course. And break that down for people who don't necessarily know what that is.
The Buffini. So Buffini is a real estate coach that is really adamant about relationship based. So a lot of people probably already do some of the stuff that they talk about and not even realize it. Like I have some clients that live in smaller or clients. I have some friends that live in smaller rural markets. And for them, Popeyes are huge. You might have someone else that lives in a vacation market and be like, oh, it's a waste of time to do a Popeye. It might be in a vacation market, absolutely. But in a small town where everybody knows everybody, it goes a long way. Or it's also like your mayor campaign, like you're a mayor. So how would you campaign for yourself? What is your elevator pitch? Like, what is your friendly of like, do I pick up my friend, call and check in with my friends and then be like, hey, just if you know anyone, I'm looking for a new seller or this or that. So that way they constantly are reminded that you're looking for business, but it's not in like a cheesy way. It's just like, hey man, like if
Right.
you hear of anything, keep me in mind.
Yeah. And you said it obviously takes 10 impressions for someone to actually, come back to you and go through with the whole process. What does that nurture sequence look like when, let's say, from the content and then like getting them into your ecosystem?
So for me, I took that and developed a top 50. And I developed a top 50 not just for clients and friends, but I developed one for agents because I do a lot of agent to agent referrals. And it was just about making sure I touched base to at least 10 people on that list every month, every couple of weeks. But I had to get to that whole top 50 list each quarter.
Hmm.
And then some people might come off the list, some people might come on. And if someone didn't give me a referral, let's say that entire year, so every 12 months, if I didn't get something from someone, they come off the list. They're no longer a top 50.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. And for specifically pivoting a little bit for new agents specifically, when you got into the business, what would be some advice that you would give yourself that new agents could take from that you wish you knew earlier?
Learn their contracts,
Yeah.
learn the contracts and be transparent. It goes a long way when you know how to have emotional intelligence when talking to other agents. We all want to fight for our clients, right? But if you allow that emotion to suck you in, you can't make the adequate negotiations that you need to. Or if you don't know a contract, wholeheartedly ask someone. I have found that I don't mind humiliating myself to ask questions because I know there's things that I don't know, and I know that there are ways to handle certain situations that are just not part of my personality, and maybe I need an outside perspective.
Of course. And that's why you keep on learning, right? Or
Yeah,
that's why
it's
you keep
like
on growing, sorry, because you have to keep
well,
learning.
both, right? Because like if you're
Right.
not learning based, then you're kind of like,
Right.
yeah.
Right. And as for the future, like where do you see yourself in, let's say, 5 years time? Super open-ended question with real estate, not with real estate in general.
So the goal for 5 years from now is to really have your creative hustle built out and I am in the process of building out my team logistics.
Mhm.
So I'm going to have three pillars of my business: the merchandise, the coaching and training, and the real estate team.
Mhm.
And the goal is to have each one running like an automated system, conveyor belt, and just living that great life.
Yeah, of course. And one last thing I do want to touch on. You did mention as far as Facebook and Instagram goes, like affiliates actually making money off, or not affiliates actually making money off your profile. You don't have to like release the actual figures, but like numbers wise, is it five figures, or like for other agents that just think social media is like I'm posting just to post, or I'm posting just to get
Yeah.
transactions, and don't see like the actual vision to it, how you can build something, a brand around it. Like, could you reveal like partially? I don't know how much of the numbers
Yeah.
you want to reveal, but yeah.
So I'm gonna be super transparent in the sense that like they reached out to me and I had
Okay.
totally forgotten that I signed up to convert my profile when they said, "Hey, let's convert your profile." And I was like, "Okay, whatever, here we go." Click the button, so I walked away. And then they were like, "We have money to pay you. You have
Mhm.
to finish the process." I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, snap. Okay." So I forgot I had done it. And then I had like a couple $1,000s in there over like 12 months. I think it was like 2 grand or something. And I was like, what? And so it's really contingent upon me. So Instagram does it more than Facebook, where they run bonuses.
Yeah.
And the bonuses, it's like pennies on the dollar. Like you have to get like 1 million views of X amount of videos. It doesn't matter if it's one video or a lump of videos, but it's like, let's say it's from like October 10th to like November 15th or whatever, right? If you reach that view count, then they'll tell you what the bonus amount is, whether it's 3 grand or something like that. If you don't reach that, then they'll just pay you for whatever your view play was. So I've made probably like close to 6K overall because I've only had it for about 2 years. Not a lot.
Hmm.
It's chump change, but I tell
Yeah.
everyone like I'll get an invoice from Facebook via email and they'll be like, "Oh, we're sending you like $100." And I'll be like,
Yeah.
"What? Or
Yeah.
like I'll get one for $20. I'll be like, let's go to Chick-fil-A, y'all. Let's
Yeah.
go."
Yeah. It's like a nice added bonus for what you're already doing.
Yeah, it's so if you get the opportunity to convert your profile, even if it's not for making money, because the Meta Suite can be a little complicated to navigate,
Yeah.
just for the simple fact of being able to see your metrics. Like it's huge.
Yeah. Right. No, of course. Um, Wrapping things up though, Bree, it was great having you on. I I do think a lot of things tactically, like agents don't have it in their mind. People don't have in their mind that like social media, like it's more than just like, okay, I'm just gonna post, just to post. You know what I mean? It's way more than that. Appreciate everyone watching. Appreciate you guys, and thanks for tuning in. We'll see you at the top.